Good morning and welcome to Wake and Wellness. Today we have another amazingly transformative episode. Yesterday we went over trauma, and towards the end of the episode we realized, and I said that I wanted to make another episode, which that's what this is, about doing what we are meant to do. And I said how those were so interlaced that essentially in the last episode of trauma and it blocking and impeding progress, that is doing what we are meant to do and facing and addressing that trauma. Those are one and the same. And so I wanted to do and focus the episode today on doing what we are meant to do and showing how, again, it's just reflective. It's the other side of facing our fears, and that's what helps the stopping that paralysis effect, making us feel like we mentioned yesterday, how emotions get utilized to mark a period in time, and typically we end up getting stuck in the past, linking to that emotion and just remembering and playing out that energy or playing out that drama that happened, and it being more intense depending on the amount of energy that we still allot to that experience. So today I was I was scared. I was very apprehensive of doing this episode because it's been within me and I've taken some time to speak. And so I felt like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to speak about. I don't know how, I don't want to write down bullet points and all those things, as I typically talk from a stream of consciousness. So it had me feeling just the most apprehensive, and I think that's how fear makes me act, and it makes many people act like that. But understanding how things make you act or react instead of responding is going to be beneficial, again, when we talk about facing our fears and facing the things that we know we are meant to do and supposed to do, but we are, again, fearful or apprehensive or doubtful of the ability for us to carry that out. Excuse me. So let's get into it. So I thought today about, right before doing the video, I started thinking about Hawaii and missing it, and somewhat of just having a desire to give a shout out to Hawaii and showing some respect and love back to the island, because it did give so much to me, and in many ways it aided me in getting and opening up to my healing journey. I think the energy of the island and the whole pace, the cultural difference, allowed me to shift and experience something that I don't typically experience at home, due to it's the complete opposite. It's this fast pace. It's people are, you know how the city is. And so when I thought about the island, and instantly things just started flooding in, and it just made me think about a documentary that I watched, which was about a New Yorker, and he was successful business-wise, financially, in his career and what he was liking to do, but he was having panic attacks and he was having just unrest within his being. And so he wanted to set out to figure out why that was. And so he did. He went and he did that's what the documentary is based on. And he went he went to India, he went to a few different places and ended up doing ayahuasca and some of these ceremonies to get a deeper understanding of self. And he made contact with the self. He made contact with really many different levels of self, his solar angel. He made contact and he was able to articulate that. But it's funny, when he came back and he was articulating some of these things to his dad was like, oh, so what, you found yourself in Bali, or you found the stereotypical archetype for not only let's say a dad, in the sense of needing to be practical within this realm while we're on this realm, but also for the typical type of, let's say, consciousness or kind of drama that is played out when we get to talking about consciousness, get to talking about these inner worlds, which are not just concepts and ideas and, oh, I think I had this experience with myself, or, oh, I think I had this experience coming into contact with God, or my angel or higher self, whatever it is. That is the normal kind of conversation that we have. And I think that it was so important that that was shown in the film when his dad goes, oh, so you think you found yourself in Bali? And it gives some of these stereotypical kinds of responses and remarks when he brings up coming into contact with the self. Such as, well, people go through that all the time, or this is da 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 da, or I just think that you need to focus and just go and drill through, these kinds of stereotypical, really is a stereotypical kind of drama that's being played out whenever consciousness is brought up, because we have been really spoon-fed how to digest and how to think of consciousness. So when we start to talk about it on a much more interconnected and not even galactic, just universal kind of sense, and the backbone of reality itself, you're gonna get okay, some of that leeway and acceptance, or you're going to get strong resistance to where it gets joked about and it gets clowned out, so that it can be ruled out and not deemed as possible. Not even saying the truth, just as possible. And so I think that's important. And I think that it is ultimately important for me to connect where I was getting at. That is the understanding that I was allowed to open up to while on the island. I had a feeling when I went to the island in itself that the island had a healing type of, not capability, but quality. And I was very true about it. And I even had some other people saying, like, if you're not good to the island, and this is true of the universe or Gaia, Mother Earth, but if you're not good to the island, Mama gonna let you know, like, it's going to let you know, and you're gonna know that you're out of sync. And that's what we're really talking about when we're talking about facing those fears, or facing the trauma, the experience, which we do in some kind of way avoid, or even if we do approach it but negatively, if we approach it with a defensiveness as opposed to being open so we can learn and accept. And these are the things that I had to understand how to learn how to do. And the island, again, opened me up so that I could have a certain kind of compassion, so that I could start to expand as opposed to contract more and really keep on the defense. And I could only thank the island for that. So to pay my tribute to the island, as I said, we streamline consciousness. Oponopono came up, and I instantly thought of it, and that it works so perfectly when we get to talking about facing trauma, because typically our traumatic experiences involve others, or involve, yeah, because it has some kind of other stimulus, and typically we are in, connection with others when these traumas happen, or it is in connection with something that may not be a person, but as strong as a stimuli that we have a stronger connection to. And now we don't, like I said, like the Palo Santo, that is a sacred, me saying that my mantra, that is that I came into through, again, just searching self and understanding what is for me. Excuse me. That is important. That is a part of my practice, where it's just as important as the connection that I have with my friend, because that is a connection that I have with the spirit realm, that I have with myself. These are things that we have to learn how to, when we get into a negative state of being or association with these things, whether they're people or things that are so close to us and sacred to us, we have to learn how to, again, bring awareness to the situation and understand how we relate to it so that we can do a better job of properly relating to it. And so I just wanted to go in and read a little bit about what Oponopono is, just to give you guys a better understanding. So it's a traditional Hawaiian mantra that, when said, can help reflect upon oneself, incorporates compassion, redemption, repentance, and appreciation. And 4 strong phrases. It is: I'm sorry, please forgive me, that I thank you, I love you. That is so, so, so powerful. I'm gonna say it again really quickly just so I can go through it. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you, I love you. When I first heard it, and it was when I was in Hawaii, I don't even know how I came through it again, like the universe, we attract what we think, we attract. And so these things come to us when we need them. And so getting rid of trauma, this right here, this phrase brings us back into alignment with the universe, brings us back into alignment with source, with ourselves, so that we can understand again our relationship to the whole and its relation to us, so we can actually stay in alignment with it. And so reading this, even when I read it, or as I'm speaking about it right now, you can feel how that covers the whole spectrum of any wrongdoing. And that's what this is. It teaches compassion and redemption and repentance and appreciation all in one. Those are some very strong energies, and to incorporate all of them, that's why that's why this mantra is so lovely. Because when you say, I'm sorry, I realize I am wrong. I realize I am not in alignment with my best self, with what the universe has in store for me, or is trying to get me to realize I already am. Please forgive me. I take responsibility for what I am sorry for. I understand that we cannot actually be in our highest vibration, especially not together, and realize each other as much until we both forgive each other for whatever we want to, whatever it is. We understand that we need forgiveness to actually move on. I thank you. I thank you. Like, that is for the forgiveness, but for I thank you, just period. Like, these are not some kind of, I'm trying to get an exchange type of, oh, thank you. You're welcome. Like, that's not what we're going for. This is not like a, please forgive me because I forgive you. Like, that's not what this is. This is it's done with the sincerity. When it's done with sincerity, you can feel the power and the flow of energy from what these allow. When I was talking about yesterday, those cinder blocks, those dark cinder blocks and blockages that I was not able to identify before I was able to put awareness on it. That's what these are. When you are able to say, I'm sorry, or please forgive me, people, we hate to be wrong, can't stand to being wrong, or sometimes we don't, but it's a lot of times that we do. And so we don't want to be seen as less competent, less, literally just anything that fits in the category of not good enough, and again, not at our best. And so when that happens, it can be so easy to not want to admit that, oh, I need forgiveness, oh, I am sorry, because all of us, we're not perfect. So all of us have been and are and will be wrong and not do what is in our, let's say, best character at all times. But the opportunity that we are granted is to learn so that we can do so as much to our best ability as we desire to will. And to end that, I love you. I love you. It's a namaste. I really am. I understand as we are what we are. And I'm not loving you because you do something specifically. I'm not loving you because it's not these external kind of reasons. You're saying it because it is true. It is what it is, and that is what brings us into alignment. And when you start to feel that, you can feel the change that starts to occur within. And within that, there's a transformation. We were talking about yesterday, the butterfly, and whenever we talk about alchemy and transmutation or transfiguration, we talk about that inner transformation that happens. and how you turn from the caterpillar to the butterfly, because again, it says life is what you make it. Here, let me show you. Life is what you make it, so make it well. And that's learning the transfiguration. That's learning the code for alchemy and transmutation. Yesterday I talked about the I want to call it the triumvirate, for that's what I'm going to call it. But that triad relationship or triad of the decision, the commitment, and the transmutation being one. And I went through that through my book Hacked, and how we have to understand it. And when I say that, what that means is we have to learn to accept that the decision I have made is the choice that I made. So one, we're dealing with will. Two, that is the commitment that I need to commit. Like, that's the commitment that I make, but I'm making the commitment to commitment itself, to understand the importance of what it actually means, what that actually does for, as I said, or in the end, is actually evolution. And so we're dealing with determination, we're dealing with that perseverance, and the connection then to transformation, and how transformation only works through these first two. So the commitment to that transformation and the decision to the transformation, as the transformation is just as dependent on the commitment and can only come about or ever even be thought of or realized through the idea, the projection that it is possible. That triumvirate right there, or that triad is everything. And understanding that it's one. It's like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. It is the one. It's the binding for what is on the other side, for what happens when we have Christ, where when we achieve Christ consciousness, or when we achieve that single pointedness, or the pine cone type of single consciousness. What happens at that moment is a realization and a unification, where those things are not seen as one and one. They are only realized as the one. So all of those things are we just tapped in a little bit, but it's so powerful how, again, these things such as compassion, redemption, repentance, appreciation, decision, commitment, transformation, all of these things are, again, they're all an expression of the one anyway. So of course they're going to lead us back into it, but to see it be able to do so in a few different ways, and how these things are paralleled or interwoven, however we want to see them, is exceptionally beautiful. So the Hawaiian word Oponopono roughly translates to make things right, or to make things move back to balance. I really like that one, because that's what we've been talking about. The practice teaches the importance of love and forgiveness through a process that allows the participant to rid themselves of burdens or poaku in order to heal. That is so powerful. Again, I love that. I love the make things move back to balance. When we are out of balance, it's so easy to feel that. But when you're out, the longer you're out of balance, the more this discord will feel appropriate. The more we will start to accept it as the way of being. So we have to, and this is why cleansing rituals are so important. This is why meditation itself is important, so that we can remind ourselves of the different levels of thinking, the different levels of awareness, meaning the different levels of being. And when we are able to live and make ourselves more accessible to the awareness, then things start to have a way of, I was going to say, clarifying itself to us. and allowing us to see things as they are, as opposed to as the way we think they are. And that's so important, especially as we live in a culture that believes in materialism dominates. I don't want to get way too deep into it, but seeing a tree as a tree because that's what we think trees are, just as these things that have branches and leaves, is such a, not even a base level of thinking. It's such a reductive, it's really a nihilistic way of thinking, because it doesn't give the life or the respect to life that it actually deserves. And that's with everything, even in the thinking process. To think that we have this process that allows us to go through this process and enhance that process and enhance the quality of our life if it's used properly is expansive, is amazing. And that process is in every single thing, or however we want to think about it, it's all in expansiveness. So to really think of anything less, or life and anything within life, as less than life full and abundant, is ultra nihilistic in a very, really a sad way of thinking or existing. And so it's the same with trauma. We have to be able to see, like, this is just the other side of a coin. Like, we want to think like, oh my God, the trauma, like, yeah, the trauma hurts, can paralyze you, can take you out, can do anything that we allow it to do, as anything else. So when we start to look at it like that, then we go, this can also be the springboard for, and that's what success, that's where real success actually comes from one with character, one that goes, I have this solution, well, I have this issue that I know others are having, I've been through it, and this is how I've solved it, and it seems like it's a pretty great, it seems like it's a pretty great solution. So let me see how it works for others. And again, we mentioned yesterday, evolution. That is what evolution at the end of the day is really hitting at. And that's what doing what we are meant to do really solves, is the issue of not being able to solve something that we deemed an issue, or a hurdle for the next step in our progression of consciousness. And so this is what we are actually tasked with when we are asked to face our trauma, when we are asked to be what we are meant to be, aka answer the call to what it is that's saying, hey, this is where we need you, this is what you need to be doing, and this is how the plan actually progresses in its most, I don't want to say most natural, but when I say that, I'm going to say in its best and most fluidic way, as source has, or life has it planned out. And so I think, and it's not easy by any means, because I mean, as I do it, and it's difficult today in the modern world to do so in the way that media and the way that people perceive culture. I think it's difficult to do this, but as I mentioned before, true success is understanding the problems and really that main issue that you have faced, and understanding how to create the solution for that, but not in just a way that only you can replicate. It's about making sure that others can do so in that same way, like a science experiment, and going, oh wow, like you've been plagued with anxiety your whole life, and then you go, okay, I found a technique, whether it's a meditation one, or you like, I got these sounds, these binaural sounds, whatever whatever you've done. And then people go, oh wow, okay. And now that they have rid themselves of that, you've helped do that, now we can already go. It's instantly as if consciousness itself, this web goes, okay, that issue is now All right, it's not obsolete, but for the most part, like it has its solution. We understand. And for those who tap into that frequency and allow it to flow through them, then they go, okay, now that was a level 2 issue. Now we can deal with some level 3 consciousness kind of issues. And and again, I don't want to go this deep, but issues aren't even really issues or problems. It's depending on how we look at it. But that's a certain level of consciousness, right? And so that's for a specific level in itself. And so I think I'm very happy where we are with this episode. And I think we can get ready to really end out there, but to read one last thing about how we can use Oponopono to help us. We can say this mantra, and for example, for healing the body, simply focus the mantra into the area of the body that is symptomatic. For example, the area of pain or illness, you may be having a headache and maybe that's where you're holding on the stress, or maybe it's in your back, and you just focus and you learn. And this is all about awareness. Many people talk about these things, and I'm going to do a video, and it may be a little bit fun and funny, like a few things, maybe like 10 things I wish somebody would have told me when I became a spiritualist and I opened up to my spiritual journey, however you want to say it. Because I think we say a lot of these things, and that's cool, but if people cannot bring some kind of, people typically understand intellectually first. And if they can't understand and grasp intellectually, then it's not seeping into their heart. But there are ways, obviously, to bypass the mind and the logic, like, oh, I need to grasp this way, and get to the heart, right? So I think it's important for people, spiritualists, and those talking about these kind of things, when we speak about them, you have to learn how to give it to people in a way that it can be intellectually grasped. And if those people, when they intellectually grasp it, if that is where they keep it for themselves, then that's most likely what it is. That's where they were going to keep it for themselves. But for those that are looking to take it further for what it really is, integration has always been the goal. So they will understand that, okay, now I have a mental model for this thing that we're talking about, but obviously compassion doesn't stop right here about what I think about it. Let me work some compassion into my heart, into my body, into my being, and see how that then informs me of what compassion really means on an intellectual level. And then that's how that concept or that thought and construct expands, and then we go, whoa, okay, compassion is on a whole nother level than I thought, or love is on another level than I thought. There is a thing as agape, or I think some people pronounce it as agape, that universal love and what that means. I had a structure for that, but then when I felt that open up in my crown chakra and all the petals, I became conscious of what that meant. I went, oh my gosh, this goes way beyond what I could ever try to give words to or think conceptually. So, and I have to remember that when I want to try to access that again, even though we're already doing that, or else I'm going to limit myself in a meditation to thinking that universal love stops right here as far as I can think that it does. No. We have to be able to open the mind to the ocean of information so that then it can be streamed or get streamlined into the infiniteness of that, and then make some kind of, let's say, adjustment or some kind of, I'm going to say calculation. When I say calculation, really giving it a definition to try to confine what? To confine an infinite flow or source or infinite, just trying to bring definiteness or defining something that's infinite sounds hilarious in itself. So just, I mean, as funny as that sounds, that's as real as it gets. And honestly, when we get there, that is my goal for Waking Wellness. That is, I've always talked about our purpose being to make sure you find your purpose. And I think that, especially as I start to work on the TV show Into the Universe, our focus is maybe honed in better by saying we are here to demystify the divine mystery. to really show us what these things mean. So when I say awareness, we're so far out of thought constructs. We're not thinking about how we're thinking about, or you're not thinking about what I exactly mean by awareness. You've already, as soon as I mention it, you shift it into the heart and you go, okay, you're examining how I'm actually, what is the word that I'm looking for? How I'm actually in relation to with awareness. I'm going to give an example of what that means. A lot of people, if I said something in a sentence and they understood what I meant, they're going to be like, oh, you said that wrong, even though understanding what I said. And then there are some who understand, especially when you're streaming and you're in a stream of consciousness, that because they already understood, they probably already understood it before you finished talking about it. And probably when you conceived the thought, honestly. But as you go through that, they understood it, so they go, and they may give you a smile or something just to signify that I know you messed that up. But more importantly, they go, I understood the stream of thought because I am linked in with that. I accept what is, and we are both accepting that. And so that is where that becomes the base. That becomes where we're at now, as opposed to let me try to, typically going back and forth, that's that negative spiral down. Like, we're not progressing anywhere in this conversation except for who's right and who's wrong. When that gets nobody anywhere, as opposed to what we can do to take this to the next place, or going, I understood what you meant, although I understood that you said it differently. And that just be, if it's understood, it's understood. And that is, again, that's another level of awareness. It's that whole syntax type of thing. If you understood that, you understood that it may be said wrong, but you understood what it's trying to get across. But you would rather focus on oh, you messed up, as opposed to where are we going next to take this to a higher place. And that is the importance of awareness. That is the importance of getting in tune and acceptance. When you have a certain level of awareness, like I mentioned yesterday, I was so mad when my homie had, her and her homie were clowning me about the Palo Santo and what was a sacred ritual to me, and I didn't want to even show in the first place because I knew that. But there's a certain level of awareness, again, that once you understand something, if you truly understand something, that means that you accept it. You accept it within and you allow it to be. You allow it to be. And you don't take that personal if you do. Then there's other, again, levels of awareness that it just shows that, and if you are not able to, then you're going to be closer down on this level to where you're having a struggle between self and trying to make sense of, like, oh, but I thought we was cool like this, but you clowning me like this. Like, it's just again, you'll have a dissonance because you'll understand something, but the trauma has you so shook and you're not able to integrate it in yourself, that now it's somewhere in your body, it's somewhere in your mind, it's somewhere stuck in your energy field, and you have yet to accept it. So it's just shaking in there and making you really preemptive to any time that, best way said in the Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, it's poison. So now when somebody touches that poison, you explode off the go, and somebody may be like, that wasn't even nothing to explode over, but they've touched your poison. That's what we are doing here. That is the goal. We're here to really help rid the trauma through addressing it with awareness. Awareness brings a whole different light, brings a whole different kind of clarity, and a whole different way to address what it is that we've been avoiding to address, so that we can now enter arenas of life that are awaiting us, that we are meant to influence positively and take to new levels. So hopefully you guys really like this episode and it helps you. I hope that you do take the Oponopono and you use that as a mantra, and you just focus and you think about that, the I'm sorry, please forgive me, I thank you, I love you. Taking that and just say it like once. You're gonna feel the power over that, because saying that to someone is so powerful. So think about someone you need to say that to, and then more importantly, say it to yourself. When you just say it and you start to realize it, it's going to wash through you and start to like pull out and sift some of those energies that I said are just doing this inside you, and really just waiting on somebody to be like, I'm sorry, I wronged you, I love you, I forgive you. Like, when you can do that with yourself, you're gonna be ready to just run around the world and say it to everybody else, because you're gonna feel this freedom that there is not gonna be anything else you can do but share with others, and hope that it allows them to open up and share with other people, and they learn to share with themselves more than anything. So I hope you guys love this episode, and I hope this does help you realize what you are more so really meant to do within the development of your soul character, or your soul and your character, and the development of your personality and you just as a being and a human. And until next time, I hope that the trauma is, whew, I know it's something to really work through, but I hope that you guys address it as I've been doing, and I still got a whole bunch to work on. So until next time, health is wealth. This is Waking Wellness. Bye.